Welcome back everybody to a new build video. Today we're gonna be explaining how to build D3 in the best way possible, how you should play it in the Dark Zone and how you can get the most out of it. So let's start. So we're using 6-piece defense, and let's first take a look at what defense gives us. 2-piece gives us 15% protection from elites, which is not really relevant in PvP. 3-piece gives us 10% ballistic shield damage resilience, which is really good. Then the 4th piece reads, allows using an SMG if one is equipped when ballistic shield is deployed. Only master rank shield mod is active. Ballistic shield health is increased by 57% for every 3000 stamina. Now this 4 piece basically forces us to run exactly 9000 stamina, because we can get the buff 3 times. So if you are running lower than 9000 stamina, you're going to be losing 57% health on your shield. By stacking 9000 stamina, we get about 171% health on our shield. Then 5% gives more resilience and more protection from melees, which is good if you're doing it per PvE. Then the 6th piece reads, when ballistic shield is deployed, melee damage is increased by 2000%, which seems really high, but in PvP it doesn't really do that much. Maybe for finishing blows or something you can do that. And all healing the player receives is applied to the ballistic shield as healing. So this means that if you have a healer on the team that can overheal you, like a reclaimer with the overdose, the shield will also get benefit from that. But then again, this is not really that used, because not a lot of things in the game actually overheal you, since we don't really run with the vigorous anymore, and we don't really get that many overheals, so this part isn't that strong. But it still can be good if you run with a healer, it's an additional benefit. Then after reaching a damage threshold from receiving physical or exotic damage, the ballistic shield grants a buff to the player and all group members within 15 meters for 6 seconds. The duration of the buff is increased by 2 seconds for every 3000 stamina. Now another bonus that forces us to run at least 9000 stamina, so we get 6 plus 3 times to 12 in total duration for our buffs. So the physical damage that you take after a certain threshold gives the entire team 30% armor. Now unlike the robust chest, this armor is actually additive to your base armor, and that's why this bonus is really strong. Not only it lasts for a whole 12 seconds, but it can also refresh if the threshold is met again while the buff is active, and this 30% armor buff is actually really good. What it does is, if you go to your inventory and survivability, you will find that you have a stat called armor. This usually sits around 32 to 33%. If you have all max rolls on the gear as armor, you get about 33.5% or something. But the buff gives you flat 30% more armor, so if I get the buff with this armor, I will be sitting at 62% mitigation instead of 32%. So it's almost 100% increase in toughness. So it turns my almost 600k toughness into a 1.2 million toughness, and it also buffs the entire team. So once you get this buff, everyone is suddenly much tankier and you can face tank entire servers. So that's why this buff is really strong. Now the other buff, the exotic damage buff, is actually a weapon damage increase for 30%, which is really good, but it's not great because you don't really proc this buff that often. I mean, yes, people do spam grenades, but it's still a little situational to proc this buff. Most of the time you will proc the physical damage buff instead of this buff. So taking all of this into account, how we should build it is pretty clear. We need to put 9000 main stats into stamina, and then put everything into firearms as much as we can to unlock certain talents. Now let's take a look at the pieces individually. We have a D3 vest with skill haste, health and ammo capacity, nothing out of the ordinary here. Skill haste, so we get the shield back faster. Then for the mask we are using skill power. Now I'm going to explain why I'm using this skill power. at this very amount, 122,000. Then on the knee pads we are also running skill power instead of health, which is again required here. And on the backpack we again have skill power instead of health. So we are doing this because with all of the buffs we have, to cap out the shield we need 120,000 skill power to get a maxed out shield. If you have lower than that, the shield won't be maxed. If you have more skill power, it will go to waste. So about 120,000 skill power is the way to go to max out the shield. And in a max shield you will get 2,350,000 health on the shield, and this will apply to all mods obviously. And with all the skill we have, we get about a 20-second cooldown. So as I said, with this build you always want to have at least 120,000 skill power. Now to get to that skill power without sacrificing any of our main stats into electronics, we need to get skill power rolls on the gear. So that's why we have it on the mask, knee pads and the backpack, and this is actually the only way to build it perfectly. Then on the backpack we have skill power, as we said. The gloves should have SMG damage, more skill haste and critical hit chance. Then the holster should also have skill haste. Then all of the mods are going to be skill haste mods, either firearms or stamina, depending how you distribute your stats, but you should at least have 9,000 stam and the rest into firearms. So we have all skill haste mods as well. And the performance mods we're using are 5%, these are the ones you should use, 5% ballistic shield damage resilience mods. And what these mods do actually is give you damage resilience while the ballistic shield is active. You stack 4 of these mods, it will give you 20% additional resistance while you have the shield active. Now you also get some resistance from the D3 as well, and in total you have a max resistance of 45% on the shield. Now that is really strong, but what that means is it doesn't give resistance to the shield exactly. What it does is it gives you this all damage resilience while you have the shield active. So that's how it works. So when you are equipping the shield, you get the shield on. I can't look at my inventory with the shield on, but if you were to check your character tab, you would see your all damage resilience at 45%. So people who try to not shoot the shield but shoot you will feel that you're really tanky because you have that 45% all damage resilience. Comparing to your survival link, which is 50%, it is a really strong buff. Then the weapons we're using are going to be the SMGs, and obviously the best SMG we can use is the house. Now with the house, you're also obviously going to keep the free talent. Then the other talents you can go for are what I would choose to be, let me show you here. Deadly and vicious. These would be my go-to talents. You could also go with deadly and unforgiving, or vicious and unforgiving, which is really good because with the shield you have a lot of health. You can stay on the low health bars for a lot longer without really being afraid of dying. So you can take use of that unforgiving and put a lot of pressure on the enemy. I mean, with this build, with this amount of firearms, you're not going to be dropping people left and right, but you will be putting a lot of pressure, forcing out medkits, forcing out stations, and just pushing the people away. If they try to ignore you, then you can show them that you also can do serious amounts of damage. So the ones, so on the house, unforgiving and vicious, or unforgiving and deadly would be good. You cannot actually unlock responsive because we don't have enough firearms for that. So we do not go with responsive on the house with this build. But you'll be able to put a lot of pressure on the enemy with this, as I said. Then as a pistol, I'm using a gear score level 6 pistol with a cool-headed talent, so that I can just headshot some mobs and get my ult back real quick. So I usually run this build with a station as well, with the shield. This allows me to pop the station. Hold up. You can equip the station, equip the shield, then drop the station, and then pop the station, which will not only heal you, but the good thing about it is that it also heals the shield. So you always want to run with the station instead of the first aid. because it also heals the shield. That's why station is really strong. Not only that, but it also heals your allies, which should be around you since you're actually protecting them. So that was what I was talking about. As far as talents go, we are only using a couple things here. First up, I'm going to explain to you why I didn't go with the reactive targeting or the kinetic breaker mod. I mean, reactive targeting, it keeps a stronger and lighter shield that pulses hostiles who shoot at it. That means the hostiles will be pulsed if they shoot the shield, which could be beneficial, but the assault shield gives us increased damage on the weapon, knockback, accuracy, and faster reload speed, which is actually really strong if you combine it. Actually, let me go to the shooting range to showcase this a little better, because there's also another talent you could run on the house, which is actually crazy good with this assault shield mod. So let's just go to the shooting range and I'll show you. So here, what we can run on the house is actually Hurried, the talent Hurried, which critical hits increase reload speed to a minimum of 1 second reload time. So that is actually really strong. Combining it with the assault shield and you just spraying into the enemies, since you have a lot of base crit chance, you'll be critting a lot. So this also equips the assault shield, which gives us increased reload speed, and the end result should look something like this. You're just unloading on a guy, critting a lot, and you're back to shooting basically at 1 second, maybe a shorter than that reload time. That is really strong. Then you like pop the station, heal your shield, and keep shooting. Now while playing, the one thing you should avoid is to just keep tanking until the striker guys stack up and destroy your shield. It's not always optimal to keep the shield up at all times, because it's gonna go down if you have a lot of players with strikers and stuff. What you need to do is tank enough to get the stamina buff, then just start running around without equipping the shield and let the shield heal up. Then as the stamina buff sort of ends, then you can put back the shield, and with more health you can keep fighting. This way you should never have your shield destroyed. If you get your shield destroyed in PvP, you are doing something wrong. If you play it right, you should never have the shield going down, and that's a huge asset to your team and a huge part of successful PvP. So we talked about the talents. One quick note here: Combat Medic, using a medkit heals your allies, but it also heals the shield as well, so it's always a must pick up. And instead of using the pulse shield, we use precision, so maybe a couple headshots from the house while spreading into a crowd, and a couple people might get pulsed and your team might get more damage on them. So this is basically how to build D3. Hope you guys enjoyed this. See you in the next video.